Good morning, everyone. Virgo Triad here. It is January 15th, 2019. Happy Tuesday to everyone. So for everybody that is subscribed to the Virgo Triad channel and has been watching it for a while now, you're all aware of what this channel actually does. We pride ourselves on exposing scams and exposing con artists. And number two, we do that with factual evidence. We do not make our opinions the reasons behind why we claim for something to not be accurate. Well, unfortunately, as it goes with any channel that exposes something that is not correct, the parties who get exposed or who believe in those parties that are being exposed get upset. And they tend to leave comments that at times are not so nice and at other times are just downright inappropriate. For those that leave comments that are more along the lines of asking questions or making a statement or attempting a debate, provided that they don't get into using a lot of expletives or they don't start making threats, I will let those comments go through and I will even debate with them. And in this case, I found someone who, although they left a rather interesting comment that appeared to be an attempt to gaslight, they actually brought up something that is really very important for people to be aware of, so that they don't fall into, yet again, another trap that the lunatic fringe is attempting to try to push. So, Three Stooges sent me a comment not very long ago that says, "So Virgo, you don't believe our federal government's doing anything wrong as of 1933. Now, for those of you that are aware, this is a regular gaslighting technique that happens on this channel all the time. Just because I expose scams, and these are scams that are internet-based, for some reason there's an attempt to make an assertion that I am either working for the federal government or that I'm pro-federal government, which is absolutely ridiculous because in reality, I'm just exposing internet scams. But regardless, I made the response, and that response states, the federal government has done lots of things incorrectly, in my opinion. What exactly is your point? This channel simply exposes scams and inaccurate information spread for the purpose of misinformation. It is not a political channel, nor does it endorse the federal government and all of its rulings. We deal in facts only over here." I got this response back, and this is where the interesting part of it starts. Virgo Triad, tell you what, you want facts? Check out Public Law 8772, which contains 18 U.S.C. subsection 3221. The only statute allowing a court criminal jurisdiction was never passed or signed in the presence of quorum or majority of both houses of Congress, as required by Article 1, Subsection 2, Clause 1 of the Constitution. Look up Harley G. He says laughing, he means Lepin. He sent a memo Monday, July 27, 2009 at 3:17 p.m. to all department heads of the Bureau of Prisons. In other words, everyone is in federal prison illegally. But don't take my word for it. Go look it up. As you know, I love a challenge, so I did. First, let's take a look at the actual law and what it is. So I went over to the Office of the Clerk, the U.S. House of Representatives, and I looked up the popular laws because this, of course, is 8772, which is a very popular law. It happens to be the Crimes and Criminal Procedures Law, and what this states is that it was enacted June 25th, 1948, to revise, codify, and enact into positive law Title 18 of the United States Code entitled Crimes and Criminal Procedure. The argument that is coming out of this from the lunatic fringe is as follows. Since Congress never actually signed off properly on this law, it is not a law and therefore unconstitutional. And because of that, everybody who's in prison is there illegally. Not exactly. what I did was I started actually taking a look at all of the different cases, and I found several cases where this argument had actually been put into play in a real courtroom. I found several of those, but none of them spoke to myself or the people that assist in researching these arguments as much as William Mark Turner's case. Now, I'm not going to read through this entire case. The reason that I have pulled this case is because I believe that this would actually be the case that would be pulled should this argument come in front of any judge within the United States. It's definitely the most pertinent. It speaks the most about the argument, and the judge in this case was extremely lenient when it came to allowing research to be done on this specific claim. So William Mark Turner was accused and convicted of committing tax fraud. It was a pretty serious scenario. And this was argued in the United States District Court for the Southern District of Alabama, Southern Division. And this specific case was filed of September 8th, 2011. This case has a total of 15 pages. I'm not going to read through all of the case. I'm just basically going to let you know the reasons why it was found that this is a frivolous argument, and it is absolutely a null and void. There is no reason to go any further scenario in terms of why the argument that Mr. Turner made is absolutely frivolous and irrelevant in this case. But basically, as you know, or as you have guessed, I'm sure, William Mark Turner did not want to go to jail for his fraudulent tax conviction, and he decided to argue this exact argument. So one of the things that you will notice if you actually do take a look at this case is that if you go to page 4, and believe me, I will make sure all of the links are in the description for you to look at as always, you will see that the gentleman that the person who sent the comment to me is referring to, Mr. Lippin, his actual memo that was sent in with request for, hey, what's the deal on this? It doesn't appear that there was any quorum, there was a full quorum or majority that signed off on this. He wanted to know what was the deal with this because there were a large volume of inmate requests for administrative remedies questioning the validity of the Bureau's authority to hold or classify them under 18 U.S.C. So you can read through that. It's quite interesting. And the answer that he got is exactly the same as the answer that this individual got when this was ruled to be a frivolous argument that was without merit. And that is the following. Number one reason why the judge found to be the argument without merit. The 1948 amendment to 18 U.S.C. 3231 was properly enacted, and it gives you the index of where you can take a look to, or the source where you can go and take a look to that, and it also provides you with this piece of information. The 1948 amendment to the statute Public Law 8772 passed both houses of Congress and was signed into law by President Truman on June 25th, 1948. Now, that might not mean a lot to the lunatic fringe, but it says a whole hell of a lot to those of us that understand the way it works when you sign a law into enactment. President Truman signed this law June 25th, 1948. I started looking at what were some of the things that were being said on social media of people that were attempting to use this as an argument. And what I found was they stopped. They stopped at the argument. They stopped at the argument that Lippin made. They never went any further. They also stopped at the fact that the law was written into place in 47, but less than a year later, it was signed by the president. And they never go as far as to actually see that it was literally signed by the president. It's on the journal. It's on the books. There's no way to argue it. There are also lots of other reasons, as you can see, that the judge informs the defendant in this case, so that this way he's absolutely certain that, okay, you may not understand this, but here's this one. And I'm not going to go into all of them because there are many. For those of you that want to actually look into it, you're welcome to read the entire case, and you're welcome to take a look at several of the other cases of arguments that have been exactly the same, although the judge was not as patient and not as kind in terms of giving the information out to others, because it's a frivolous argument. It is simply a jailhouse lawyer type of argument where they've cherry-picked things yet again and have never followed through fully with the research. So, the reason that I have this up today as something that you guys need to pay attention to is because since there are all kinds of now pieces of information all over the internet that are actually showing that a lot of what the lunatic fringe decides to spew out is inaccurate, and it's actually showing sourced, verifiable information that they can go to and read for themselves, so that people don't become confused. More and more of the really buried stuff that the jailhouse lawyers try to teach is now coming out. This is one of those things, and it has the potential to do a whole lot of damage to somebody who really is in serious trouble. So for someone watching YouTube videos, attempting to try to get some insight on how they can argue a case or a loophole for something that might assist them in getting their case dismissed and getting themselves out of trouble, may run across one of these videos by the lunatic fringe that's out there running these scams. And this is something that has come to the forefront, and if they are pushed up against a wall and they go for a pro se type of hearing, as these people tend to do, without an attorney, as William Mark Turner did, and they try to use this as an argument, they're going to get slapped down very, very rapidly, and they're going to end up in more trouble than they were originally. Chances are there's going to be more like this that pops up, and we're trying to keep track of it. So again, this is just a frivolous argument for arguing jurisdiction. It does not work. It isn't something that even holds any merit, because it simply isn't true. The Congress did what was correct in signing off on the bill, and the president signed off on the law, and the president signed off on the law. So it's something where if you're going to start doing research on stuff like this, then you better do research thoroughly and fully. All right, if anybody has any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them in the comment section. You can also email me at virgotriad@protonmail.com. I hope everybody has a great day, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.